Media, you guys are good camera-wise? Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ben Lemoyne. I'm Director of Communications and Community Engagement for the school system. Welcome. We're sorry for the late notice this morning, but this is something very important. We're going to get right to it. First, I want to introduce Superintendent Cito Narcisse.
Thank you, Ben. I don't know if we have enough microphones here. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to come this morning. I wanted to talk through a little bit about today. We have some important news to share with you, but I first wanted to share a little bit about where we are today and how we got here. In January 2021, when I arrived from Washington, D.C. to become the proud superintendent here at East Baton Rouge, my goal at the time was to learn about our community and also be able to understand where our community has been and also where do we need to go for the next couple of years, as I've been working with learning with community stakeholders, families, talking to students, raising their voices, and also being able to engage with all the community partners that we have that can help us to do this work. In that process of those 3 years, my first year here, I was able to sit down and ask, what is the most important thing that the school district needed and how we as a community can move forward to continue to build in a great school district. Now, as you can imagine, along that process, I made great friends. I've also engaged with a lot of great people. And we also, I tell folks, have a great talented staff, 6,000 employees that support tremendously every day the children and the families of this community. In that process, we came up with what they call the 6 keys, with university partners, with nonprofit partners, faith-based leaders, and all those folks. And we began to chart a pathway around our work in this community. And I'm happy to say that the fruits of our labor have started to come out where you can actually see tremendous progress. Now, I always tell people, remember where we came from. We were in a place where during COVID, kids were behind reading, which we had to catch up. And there was a lot of things that we had to do. So just at that time, which I'm thankful to our state superintendent and others who voted to give us a lot of dollars to be able to move the work, we were just trying to catch up. And so we said if we at least caught up and got our kids to a particular level, we can be able to continue to build. And so with that work, we came up with our Pathways to Bright Futures. And in those pathways, we had a total of, 10,000 high school students, about 2,500 of those per grade level. We only had 2,000 high school students at that time that were taking advanced courses that were AP, dual enrollment, or industry-based certification. We now have over 6,000 students out of 10,000 high school students that are in those classes, and we are very proud about that with the work of our teachers and the community. So we went from about 20-something% at that time to 80%. We also at the time said that we needed to increase more children getting an early childhood education than we could in any other time. And in that process, we said, let's expand seats to be able to do that work. And so by doing that, we opened up more seats and said, let's get kids. And we were able not only to get more kids, over 1,000 plus kids into those programs, but we also increased the level of rating of performance in that. And we were proud about that work. We also talked about how we wanted to make sure that we were able to get more businesses to invest in our students. And we were thankful that over 60 plus businesses working with the chamber and other business partners to give kids internships, and within those internships to get them to get in their career and their workforce. We were super excited about that. That program has grown over the hundreds in our time during that work. We also said we wanted to increase the amount of children that were progressing in terms of progress. And progress means seeing kids progressing in terms of the letter grade of the state. And we're excited to say almost 90% of schools have made progress. Doesn't mean they're at the top, but they're making progress from where they were to where they are today. And I thank our teachers and our community for supporting our kids for that work. We also said we needed to make sure that we created a literacy blueprint in partnership with city partners, our mayor, and all of our institutions, our community partners, to be able to have a blueprint on how to do that work, not only locally, but also nationally. And if you go to our literacy blueprint on Google, you'll see that that blueprint's actually not only been used here in Baton Rouge, but also in other cities who've taken an example of that, and we're proud of that work. We also said we wanted to get back some of our schools that have been struggling over years. So we've been able to do that. We brought Capitol High School back. That was a school that was failing, that had multiple providers over it, but that school went from an F to a C because of its workforce development work that we've done over there in partnership with businesses in what we call our focused choice schools that provide just a different innovation of opportunity in the district. Now, I say all these things to say that the goal when you are a part as a superintendent is that you are more of a facilitator of education, and you work with multiple partners to lead that work together. And you have to know that you have to continue to work with people to continue to build. We didn't always get everything right, but we built the system to a better place, and also to make a foundation from where we were to where we are now. And we still have lots more work to do. This is why in my conversation as we've been going through, I've spoken to board leadership and others on the board and just said, I've decided that, I have moved the work here in the school system up to a certain point, and I think it's now time to transition for a new leader to come in to be able to continue to build on that work. And so that is why this decision today, I wanted to make this news. I feel that in the work that I have done with our team, we've been able to bring to this level, and we want to now take it to another level. And I believe that the new leader that comes in, and also the support of the board, supporting the current board around policies that will continue to keep our work, our 6 keys, our foundational work that we built as a community, continues to build over time. What nobody tells you about this wonderful job is that you know that there is a time that you begin and there's a time that it ends. And at that time, you lead with the people around you to continue to build that work. Just like board members, just like superintendents, just like anybody else. And I feel that at that time, my time has come to that. So I've decided, after talking to my family, connecting with other folks that are close to me, that it's time for me to move on and continue to support the work. But I will say this as a community. It is important that you support not only the leader, the board members, but also you support your teachers, your bus drivers, your janitors, your cafeteria workers, because all of those folks are a part of supporting students. My hope all the time is that a part of this community is that we are looking at things from a much more positive space to build, and not always be hard on ourselves that if we don't hit a certain marker, then that means we haven't made it. It is important that we continue to build and build and build. I am hopeful that we've built enough infrastructure, and as I discussed with board leadership, the support structures that will continue to keep the work going. This work is more than just a superintendent. It's more than just a board. It's more than anybody else that supports. It's about the families and communities in this place. And boy, is it a great place to live in Baton Rouge. And I appreciate all of the support that I've had in doing this job, because I could not have done this by myself. So now I'm going to kick it off to our wonderful board president, President Carla Powell. Thank you.
Good morning. First, I want to thank Dr. Narcisse for his service and dedication to this school district over the past 3 years. His contributions have provided greater opportunities and progress that will lend to a bright future for our students and community. So thank you. At the December board meeting, board members voted to not renew the contract of Dr. Narcisse as the superintendent of EBR schools. Vice President Patrick Martin and I met with Dr. Narcisse and developed a severance agreement that will allow us to immediately name an interim superintendent, which we hope to announce tomorrow. This particular severance agreement is simply a recommendation that will go before a vote on Monday at a special meeting at 5 p.m. We thank Dr. Narcisse not only for his service, but he will also be available to assist with the transition of the new leadership. We thank you, our community as well, for allowing us to share this information today. And we look forward to moving ahead. We look forward to continuing to build on the success that Dr. Narcisse has brought to this district. Thank you. Mr. Martin.
Thank you. I also would like to thank Dr. Narcisse for his dedicated service to this district for the past 2.5 years. He has indeed laid some strong foundation for us to build on moving forward in the future. As a public official, one has to make difficult decisions sometime, and this was an extremely difficult decision. It's very vital that we recognize the contributions that Dr. Narcisse made and not start all over from scratch again. We need to build on the foundations that he has laid as we move forward, and I'm very confident in the board and of the future of this district that we will continue to move forward and build on those foundations. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And now we'll open it up to questions from the media from any of the speakers.
Did someone give a timeline of how we got to today, like from December 7th, kind of how, what led up to this?
Yes, as a result of the the vote that took place in December, of course, we knew that anyone who hopes to continue to build their career would then, of course, make a choice and take some time and decide and reflect on what is best for them. And so we are following the guidance of Dr. Narcisse, and we are glad once again that he was able to serve in his role. And we know that he will continue to grow in his career as a result of this.
How many votes does it need to approve the severance agreement?
I believe there are 5. 5 votes are needed. There are six if there is any controversy or contradiction from the superintendent, but because he is leading in a resignation, then there are only 5 that are needed.
Dr. Narcisse, there's an entire community who's been ready to go to bat for you ever since the vote came out in December. What do you have to say to those people who are ready to fight to try to keep you in this role?
Yeah, I appreciate the support that the community. I cannot do this work without the community. Over the holiday, after the vote happened with the board, and I always say, board members are like superintendents; they have tough decisions to make. I did some reflection, spoke to my family and others, and one of the things I'm proud of is when you become a part of a community, you want to see that community heal and do better. Baton Rouge has been a community where I think its potential is just ridiculous. I always tell folks, we don't have a resource problem. We got a coordination problem sometimes. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to be in the way of our community moving forward. Everybody tells me everything is about children, and I said yes. For me as a superintendent, everything is about children and families, because I think families are part. Children come from families. And so what's important for me is that we move forward as a community. And once a decision is made, we can continue to build on that decision so we can move the work forward. The work of our children is bigger than just one person. I know sometimes people see the position of a superintendent and they think it's, just them and all. My job is I'm a facilitator of education in our space, and I work with the board to be able to get things done. And so it's important for me that we move the city together forward in a community. It's one of the conversations we had a lot about how do we as a city move forward, and more important, how do we keep building. The 6 Keys work that we've done has done tremendous in our community, because I always say results matter, even though results in education don't happen fast. It takes time. And so, my ask to the community is continue to support the new leadership that is coming in. Also support the board members as they are also, making policies to make sure that the work continues. And that to me is important.
You said it takes time. Do you feel like you were not given enough time?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that simple. I think what what people don't see that is challenging about being an urban superintendent is that you have to manage variations of complexities. Just like I get pulled in 50 different ways trying to make sure that the children's focus should be the agenda. Board members are in that same space, and you have to collaboratively work together to be able to move that work. And so, I think that we have done a great job in building a foundation. When you look at where we were in January 2021, it wasn't just about getting kids in school. We had a number of schools that did not progress, were not in the right direction. And that was, quite frankly, everybody knew that, and I just think, it's us trying to continue to move that work forward. What's important for me is that the district, the board, the community, the new leader continues to build on that work moving forward and working together, because that's what's going to make our city a great city and help our children become great people to work in our workforce.
Was this your decision alone, or do you think you have been kind of pushed in that direction since that December vote? No,
I mean, when there's a lot of votes, like I always said, it's just not that simple. I mean, there are votes that go one way, they go another, and I think what you have to do is you got to sit back and reflect. What I don't want to do is I don't want to be a barrier to moving things forward, and that's important for me. There's nothing like pride when you see somebody tell you that it can't be done someplace and that you can see it being done. I'm a product of that, where people didn't think I would even be educated or get a doctorate or anything like that. And a village put their hands around me to show that that can be different. We have done great work to put a foundation together in moving the work forward. If the city continues with the board and support from families and communities to continue to expand in early child education, continue to make sure that we're getting more kids to read, continue to make sure that we provide the internships that we're providing with, that I'm thankful for businesses doing, continue to let all kids, no matter what color you are, where you come from, get in access to advanced courses starting from the 9th grade, doing all those things, and also getting college credits early where you're actually saving parents money. I'm pretty clear in 10 years from now, Baton Rouge will look like a very different city economically. It will also be a place where no matter who you are, you will feel like you're a part of a place that you can contribute back to it. But it has to, that conversation around children's performance and academics has to be the priority, not these other things. And so I think that that's just how the work works. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity.
So what comes next?
Yeah, so I'm going to go drink a glass of water when I get out of here because I'm thirsty. But I haven't explored my options yet. But now that it's official, I wanted to make sure that I can help transition. I'll start to see what happens next. But I've been taking it 1 hour at a time, quite frankly. I think the main thing was I met this morning with executive staff. We talked about thanking them for their leadership, because as a superintendent you do not lead by yourself. I'm also sending an email to staff today, notifying them, and then just trying to make sure that we can keep the system moving forward, and also know that we have to support the leaders in the position. We have to support our board leadership, support our board and their policy. We have to support the leader that comes in here. The name of the game, I tell people, is about continuity and improvement. It's not always about what's wrong, because things, as my mother used to say when she was alive, you didn't get unhealthy overnight. It takes time for you to get in shape. And so we just have to continue that progress, and so that's kind of where we are now.
So how do we get here, and why not wait until the end of the school year?
Yeah, so in the process that you have when you have to look for a leader, it is very complex. As you can imagine, when I came in, I can't remember how long it took, but it took a while to choose a leader. It takes a while to establish things, and I just thought that, you know, we were in January, the board made its decision in December, and so now, you know, it's time to help give the opportunity to move the district forward. And so I think it was a great time for us to have this conversation now in January. So now you have a couple of months of leeway. The board has some big decisions that they have to do around budget and some of these things, and so we want to keep those things going, and more importantly, keep the decisions for children's you know, priorities that the board will decide on, where priorities for academics will be, and also supports for kids to be priority in that place. And so I think, you know, for me, you know, it was important that we continue to move the community forward. I think even in my conversations we were having, we said, you know, what is the best plan forward to continue to build on the future of the district.
And I worked in late, but there does have to be some type of public meeting over all of this?
Yes, so the board will, they will have to vote on this on Monday to decide on next steps. I will be available to new leadership all the way through next couple of months as we go through to help with transition or anything that's needed, and then we kind of go from there.
So, just to be clear, they are announcing a new interim superintendent tomorrow.
Recommendation. Yeah.
For, and when would that person go into play? When would Dr. Narciso officially step down?
You guys want to do your documents in regards to, thank you. Thank you. I do apologize from talking from the side of the room. So within the document, it shares what will be his last day, and then from there, that's when the interim will take on the role. And so that information will be shared as a part of the agenda for Monday's meeting.
Do you already have a recommendation in mind for an interim, or is that, do you have to kind of start from scratch now?
There is a recommendation that both myself and Mr. Martin have actually gotten a chance to discuss, and we just wanted to make sure that we give Dr. Narcisse this opportunity today, and we will discuss that on tomorrow.
So, you have a date. He talked about working with her for a couple of months. We talk about this transition. It sounds like there's going to be a period of time where you have an interim and he's going to be working with this person. How's it?
To assist them in the transition, yes, sir.
Okay, so whoever this person's probably going to be starting pretty soon, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have a question for Dr. Zito. So you just mentioned that you felt like you were a barrier, and I've seen some people say that you needed more time on social media. So what message do you have for that community who, you know, they were rooting for you and that they were looking forward to more of you?
Yeah, I mean, the goal, as I said, is for us to continue to keep building on the work. What I don't want to do is slow down our work. You know, it's important that we keep continuity going on the programs for children and also the support structures throughout the year. Usually when the superintendent transition happens, things can slow down if you don't make decisions immediately. And so my goal is to try to help that pathway to be as easy as possible, so you know the decisions can happen to help, you know, continue the work. So,
Dr. Narcisse, there's a lot of emotion on your face. Where is that coming from?
emotion. I don't know. Maybe I have a new beard now, so. Yes. Yeah.
Excuse me, but there's some emotion in your eyes that I keep seeing, and I'm wondering where's that coming from. It looks like passion.
Oh yeah. Well, it's what superintendents don't tell you, which I was told in superintendent school, that this is a job that is it's not for the faint at heart. And I don't want to get religious on people, but it's almost like God's work. And you know, when you put your all into it, and you get a lot of connection and things like that. It's never easy, especially when you build relationships with people in the community and you become a part of that community. So I'm always grateful. One, I'm always grateful just having the opportunity because, as I always share with people, I should not even be a superintendent. There are less than 1% superintendents in the United States are even black. So, and so, when you get the opportunity to be able to be a minority superintendent to lead, it's very humbling because, you're a product of communities where that if either, have not had opportunities, but that someone wrapped their hands around me to give me access to be where I am today. And so, when I got to East Baton Rouge, it didn't matter what color a child was, where they were part of our community. I'll tell you, I was told that kids can't read, they won't do well, they won't do this, if you put them in advanced classes, you can't imagine the amount of negativity that you hear in this job from people all over. And when you see that the child that's reading is beating the odds and showing that if they had access and opportunity, it's different, you were excited because you're showing folks that, yes, if given the opportunity, they can succeed. And so, it's always bittersweet to go through the process of transition because, you are connected. I've made great friends in Baton Rouge that I think that are going to be friends for me for life, and I've engaged with a lot of great people. And I also tell folks there is a lot of talent here as well. But when you come from one place to another, you see so much potential in a place, and you want everyone to have that same belief system. And I think that the school system and the children that are 10R, 40+ thousand students have to get that belief system from adults in order to continue to move forward. And so, it's not. I don't know if it's the emotions that bear, but what I can tell you, it's always a bittersweet opportunity to do the job. I'm grateful to just have the opportunity, and I'm always continue to be grateful. I started off as a classroom teacher, and to be able to lead the second largest district in Louisiana is a blessing for me. And I feel like you give it your all when you do the job, and then that's how it works.
And again, when exactly did you guys decide this?
So once the vote went on with the board, we started to have some discussions. I think the question was not about just a transition, it's about what do we do to continue to move the community forward, support children, and how to make things smoother to continue to build on the work. I want to keep stressing this because it's important, even myself and the board leadership. We as a community have to get into a space where we acknowledge what we do good, but we also acknowledge that we want to build on things, right? And building on things takes time. We always love to identify where the gaps are and who's not getting what or those things, but I think to not acknowledge that we have built on work, whether building on academics has been small or large, it took a lot of time. Think about this for a second. Currently in the state report card, East Baton Rouge Parish has had growth almost in every indicator. That has not happened in this district for a long, long time. So there is something that we have done right to at least put us in a direction to be able to build. And I think that, just like how board members have tough decisions to make around policy, they have to keep building on from the last board to the new board, and from one superintendent to another, or a teacher's building knowledge from a kid as they're going from one grade to another with teacher. That's just how this thing works. And I think that it's important that we as a community embrace that and continue to build on that, and not try to, not get into a space where we say, well, this is good, this is bad, and I think that that's the difference when you see a city continue to grow.
You talk a lot about some of your successes. There have been some criticisms, some complaints as well. Can you speak to anything that you would have personally done differently?
Yeah, when I came on board, you don't learn, you don't know what you don't know. And one of the things, and I appreciate board members like, Darius Lannis, who's there, or other board members like Mr. Ballou, Goday, or even past, folks who were here, like former president of the board, David Tapman, like all those folks who were there. They spoke to me a lot when I arrived here about the culture, and also about how to get to learn and know people in the community better. I think that, when you learn in doing this work, you have to really get a good sense not only about Baton Rouge's community, but you really got to learn what opportunities and access certain communities have had and what opportunities and access certain communities have not had, because there has been a challenge in that space. What I have learned over time is that it's so much easier to bring more different folks at the table to be able to engage in conversations specifically representing various neighborhoods, communities, faith-based leaders, to be able to do that. And I think things get better over time in that way. And I think we got better over time. The other part, too, is getting the community to understand historical challenges. There were a lot of challenges that our community has had that was not, it will take years to try to fix. And I think the pressure that you get under when you get into this seat is they believe it's going to get fixed right away. And I want to go into specific areas, but I just think that, so the goal is to keep building over time to make those things get better. And that's just how it works. I mean, that's why it's important for me, when I had a conversation with the board leaders, is how we transition, how we support their next steps, how we support them to continue to move the district forward.
Question about the announcement of the interim superintendent. So what's the form is that going to take? We'll be back here tomorrow? What's that looking like?
Ben, you want to?
The announcement of the recommendation will come in the form of a media release that will be shared with you all.
So not
No, sir.
So would it be fair to characterize the severance agreement as a buyout or voluntary buyout or not?
It possibly can be considered as a voluntary buyout, but at the same time, of course, following the leading of Dr. Narcisse with his decision, of course, to step back and take a step back, that this will just simply be just our agreement with him on what will be his terms moving forward.
Because of, a buyout, you have a contract that has, parts to it that has to be paid off. Is this going to be basically paying off the rest of the contract, or is it like some other kind of animal?
There will be aspects of it where that looks like he will be paid for the rest of his contract, but at the same time, the details of that will be produced within the attachments to the agenda for Monday.
So is that later today we're going to see that?
More than likely by the end of the day, either today or tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
So about the process moving forward, I know here recently there's been a lot of, heated moments at some of the board meetings. What can you say to the public about the board's ability to move forward peacefully, choose a leader effectively?
Well, I will say this, that after our last meeting that we had, there have been opportunities for my colleagues to share that we want to agree to peaceably move on, and then also to begin to rebuild as a board, and then begin to rebuild even with our community. So that's what I look forward to. I look forward to seeing us have a level of decorum that we hadn't really seen in the last few meetings moving forward, and then also that we would be able to develop a vision as a board that will lead the work moving forward.
Paul, is there, since this vote in early December, there's been a lot of talk about, there's people behind the scenes who are orchestrating this whole thing, and that there's a lot of outside forces at play here. What do you want to say to that?
It's unfortunate that that may have been the case. I'm not sure of who has been meeting with whom, but I will say this, that at this point it is 2024, and it's an opportunity for us to grow as a community. It's an opportunity for us to grow beyond whatever was the strife that has taken place, and I'm just hoping that whatever may have taken place in the past, that we can squash it and that we can move forward and begin to do or continue to do the work that's needed to support our students and to support our families and to support our educators as well.
Patrick, you want to take that question?
Sure. As I said at the board meeting, I think last Thursday, one of the easiest things in the world to do in politics is to question another person's motivation. It's easier in human nature to just pick apart and attack someone's motivation and suggest that they've been motivated by outside political influences or financial concerns or anything like that. That gets away from discussion of the real issues, which involve what's best for our children. And so I would hope that all of us would get past questioning each other's motives. I certainly have never questioned, do not question the motives of any member of this board. And I'm confident that the board as a whole will move forward in that direction and focus and redirect our energies and our attention, as Dr. Narcisse suggests, on what's in the best interest of the children going forward.
Anyone else? Thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate it.